Okay, Pops.
Yes.
We're back. We got another lightning round of Family Feud, although last time it was actually super pleasant.
Yes, it was.
Not too much feud.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking about how dealerships make money, and we've done an article on this in the past back on yourautoadvocate.com. It's one of the first articles you ever wrote, one he actually wrote, and you broke down the three different revenue streams really within the dealership. You've got sales, you've got finance, you've got parts and service. The team that we've built here with Your Auto Advocate, obviously, you're an anchor on the sales side, Dr. Barron on the parts and service side, and Miss Kimberly Klein on the finance side.
Yeah,
and so
I really didn't care for the term anchor. I feel like I'm holding the boat back.
You're our beachhead in sales. So what I thought we would do is maybe between the three of you, you can explain how the dealership makes money, and then maybe go a little bit in depth about your particular area that you've have expertise in. And Kimberly, why don't we start with you, maybe on the finance side?
I picture it as a triangle. We've got the salespeople, and the sales managers.
Like I said, we could start with sales. Nose goes. Pops, you're up first.
Okay, so
I'm the middle.
The straw that stirs the drink.
Let's hear it.
As I like to say, is the sales department. Okay, and the sales department, what they're interested in is gross profit per vehicle sold, whether it be new or used. Okay, and that includes the holdback and all that good stuff and any incentives from the manufacturer, because that's how the sales managers get paid, off of the gross profit, and that's how the salespeople get paid. So when it comes to sales, is the starting point of everything. Okay, it literally is the straw that stirs the drink. And then from the sales department, once the sales side of things has gotten the customer to agree, then Miss Kimberly becomes the most important person in the dealership.
Really? Okay.
Literally, yeah.
No pressure.
Until the customer ultimately ends up with Yoni, where he becomes the most important person in the dealership. But after the customer says yes, Miss Kimberly takes over.
All right. So then I have the customer in my office, and where I make money is through the lending portion of it, putting together loans. The banks pay the dealerships a certain portion or a percentage of what's called a spread. I'm not going to get too deep into this, but that would be...
We've done a video or two on that.
Yeah. So that would be the difference between the buy rate and the sell rate. So I make money from that. And also you make money from the sale of products. So that would be like vehicle service contracts, maintenance plans, tire, wheel, key care, whatever that dealership has agreed to sell with a certain administrator. And so that's where my money would come from if I were still finance manager.
So I'm starting to see why we kicked it back to my dad. So new customer comes in.
Yes.
Sales tries to sell the vehicle for the most gross profit they can get by with.
Yes.
Then they try and tee up the opportunity, or you have to go into the F&I office for compliance reasons to finish your bank contract, etc. And then Kimberly, I imagine you get paid off of gross profit as well on those products. And again, not you right now, but you back when you were an F&I manager.
Yes. Most finance managers have a complex pay plan where there's a little of this, a little of this, a little of this. You put it all together, you've got a finance pot. And so there are different levels or different tiers to that. So that's how we make our money. Now, I have to say this, that there's a lot more that I know people don't realize that goes into being a finance manager. As you mentioned, there's compliance, state, federal compliance, there's packaging the loans, getting everything perfect for the bank, getting it to accounting, follow through with contracts in transit. I mean, there's a whole behind the scenes. It's not just selling products, but that's where the money comes from.
Yes.
And then I'm thinking one of the products that you're able to sell are like maintenance plans. And I've been told this, and I want to hear from you, Yoni, and from you, Kimberly. I've been told that maintenance plans are just dealer retention tools, that they're just meant to get you coming back to the same service department at the same dealership, because then I've also been told that service advisor has the best chance of selling the next car. And by that, they mean like you have a positive relationship. That person needs to buy a car again, or they know someone in their family has to buy a car again. They just work with the same dealership. Yoni, is that kind of true, or have I been?
And as we've spiraled down this stirred drink that Ray started not too long ago, I'm at the bottom of the funnel here. But as we know, once you reach the bottom and the car has 150,000 miles on it, you got to make your way back to the top, of course. So they finished, of course, with the sales side of things, with the salesperson. They finished with Kimberly, of course, doing the F&I process. Some short time has lapsed, and now they're coming in for their maintenance. And, as you described, Zach, with the maintenance plan for certain manufacturers, absolutely, it is one of the strongest retention tools that a F&I person or a manufacturer can offer to their vehicle to the client. So this way, you're guaranteed to pull them in for X amount of time. And during that time, it gives you the opportunity, of course, to sell additional services as needed. Now, on the service side of things, my primary income, which we've did a video structure about that before, is either, commission based and commission with salary, and other spiffs and perks that may come with it. So during that duration of time, of course, you're continuing your service clients. And at some point or another, they decide that they want to get into a newer car. They've enjoyed the loaner car. They're seeing that technology, of course, is improving, and their car has cost an excessive amount of money to keep up. So then we'll go ahead and refer them back to Ray's department and initiate the contact point, the touch point with the salesperson, to hopefully, through the retention of the maintenance plans, through the retention of the selling of the service, they continue to purchase their second vehicle, continuing from there, from our department, or from the sales department, excuse me.
That makes plenty of sense. And I think it's relatively intuitive. How it works in practice, like from my perspective, having never worked in the dealership, seems really clumsy. I'm sure when it works really well, but it comes across a bit clumsy. That being said, Yanni, one thing my dad taught me very early on is this concept of service absorption. This concept that the service department is really actually like the major revenue stream for the business. And I think you may have said this at one point as well, Dad. You said to me something along the lines of like, how many franchise car dealerships have you ever seen that don't have a service department? And it's like, none, never. Because that's where the money is really made. And so I guess my question for the three of you is like, I know none of us on this call have ever been like dealer principals, but like, what is the breakout of revenue? Like, is service the most important, and then is sales and finance after that? Or is it finance, then sales and service, or like, what do you think?
The benchmark for most stores is to fall somewhere between 70 and 80% of service absorption. What that means is that service produces enough dollars, volume-wise, to cover 70 to 80% of all the store's expenses. So that it's not so important for the sales side of things to make as much money per car or for F&I. Really, really, really well-run dealerships have a service absorption of 100 to 105%, so that every penny that ends up being made in sales or finance just goes to the bottom line, because service has covered every expense that the store will have. So service absorption is extremely important.
Yes, for sure. I mean, again, you've got your short-term gains and your long-term gains. And the short-term gain is your sales department, your F&I process. Your long-term gains, like Ray said, exactly, it's the service department. And through that service department, you're creating this complete cycle, and you're creating a very profitable, high-volume facility.
Can I throw something in there?
Absolutely.
One of the dealerships that I worked at built a body shop too, which was another aspect. So
yes,
you've got sales, FI, service, and then the body shop too. So whenever you get
so we went from a stool to a chair.
Well, then you have some of the facilities, of course, that are offering you now mani-pedis inside the facilities. Any which way you can retain someone to come in. And again, those are not profit margin making businesses, but again, it's getting your foot in the door. If I can keep you in the door for longer, just like the sales process, I may have the opportunity to sell you something else.
It's super interesting, though, because we recently filmed a video. I don't think it's out yet at the time of recording this, but it was about, there's 10 or 11 different states that have proposed legislation to do manufacturer to consumer selling. 10 states have legislation on the books proposed. No franchise dealer. We'll just sell from the manufacturer to the consumer. And based on this discussion and understanding that a lot of the revenues and profitable revenues are actually derived from the service department, it doesn't make me feel so bad. Like, ideally in a future state, people like you, Dad, who used to work in dealerships will find other things to do. But, I think we're decades away from manufacturers selling directly to consumers. But they're still going to be dealerships. It just sounds like they'll probably be more service-oriented. And even if they are more service-oriented, they can still figure out how to make money, provide value to people. And maybe we will kind of break down some of the animosity towards the car dealership, because a lot of people feel like they get kind of screwed on the front end, even though in reality, that's not where a lot of the money's made, at the dealership. No. It's just kind of coming full circle for me. It's really neat. We've been doing this for over a year now, and you can kind of start to piece together what the future of automotive might look like.
Yeah, and I think Kim would agree to this too, is that, you're seeing companies like Tesla that are coming in naturally, and you can just order everything on their website, go to the dealership, pick it up, and then you just have to come in for service. So why not build that level of ease and comfort and provide the service where you don't have to go in and spend hours and hours and hours on end naturally trying to figure out what you want. Build it, order it, unless it's available right there, buy it, and then you're hassle-free. It's really, I agree with you. I think it's something that's definitely coming down the pipeline for sure.
I do too, sooner than later too. I think this whole past year just sped everything up towards that goal. I really think it's going to happen.
Yeah, and also like with what we're doing, right? Like the idea with Your Auto Advocate that you can buy some of the F&I products through us instead of from a dealership. And we're not necessarily, I hate to say the word advocating, but we're not advocating that you'd buy it for us. It's just simply having other resources to pursue it and purchase it.
Right.
Like you can really start to abstract out aspects of what happens at the dealership, make it less clumsy because it's more like consumer oriented. And then the dealership, I think, still stays retained in the future. It's just more service oriented. You lose the need for a giant showroom and some of that stuff. You just have the infrastructure of the service drive, and it'll be interesting. I think it'll take decades, because the other thing, the caveat on that video pertaining to the 10 or 11 states that have proposed legislation, it is so hyper specific. The dealers associations in all those states made it crystal clear that, like, sure, if you're Tesla, you can sell direct to consumer, or if you're some new startup electric vehicle company, you can sell direct to consumer, but no one else. So like they're going to dig their heels in for, we were talking about this on the video. I think 30 years, you think maybe a little bit less. Like, it's going to be a long time before it really evolves, but it's kind of cool. You can start to see how the business model still works and makes sense for the industry, but also becomes a heck of a lot more convenient for the consumer.
It could be. It could definitely be more convenient for the consumer, and that's what we're trying to do.
And have more aligned pay structure. Like, it makes no sense to me as an outsider
that
the three of you would not be aligned on compensation within the dealership, when what you just described, using the stirring of the straw and the bottom of the funnel that needs to come back up to the top. Like, when you're not in alignment, that's why it's clumsy for me, and that's why I don't come back to your dealership. And so this is not like meant to be towards the three of you. It's like the dealer principals or the people that own the businesses. It's like, what's wrong with you? Like, change the way you pay people.
One of the wonderful things about the dealership experience is how the sales department feels like they're pitted against the service department. The sales department oftentimes feels like they're pitted against the finance manager, and so instead of fostering a all for one and one for all, they foster these three little fiefdoms that are independent of each other,
fiefdoms,
and just and they figure out ways not to work in conjunction with each other.
Yeah,
and it's the stupidest thing I've ever seen.
It is. It makes no sense.
It's got. Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, it definitely has its challenges for sure, and it's a shame that we're not working as a family unit instead of just working as separate limbs inside of this one body.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well said, Dr. Barron.
Well, that's why he's the doctor. Yeah, so he's got another limbectomy scheduled for later today.
Well said.
Well, I definitely could see us picking back up on this conversation in the future, and maybe even doing like a bit of a roundtable, like our takes on what does come next. But for now, we've explained what the title of the video suggested, how dealerships make money, the three areas, and obviously, maybe it's your first time at the channel, like, we're here to help you go through that car buying process.
Absolutely.
And to do that, or if you're interested in what we were able to provide, yourautoadvocate.com, take a peek. Yoni, Kimberly, Dad, thank you guys for your time. This has been really fun, so thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys. It was a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Great team effort. I always enjoy this.
Jazz hands! Bye, guys.
Bye.